Getting ready for your Class 8 science exams can feel like a huge chore, right? Just memorizing a bunch of facts and definitions. But what if I told you there's a better way? In this study guide, we're going to totally change how you prep by learning to think like a real scientist. Let's dive in.
You've seen this happen in the kitchen, right? Ever stop to wonder why? This simple, everyday thing is actually a full-blown science experiment happening right in front of you. See, the hot oil turns the moisture inside the dough into steam. That steam expands like crazy, pushing the layers of dough apart, and poof, it puffs up. This is where all great science starts. Just being curious about the world. And that right there is the secret. To really get a handle on science, you gotta move past just remembering stuff. The two most powerful tools you have are the questions why and how. Seriously, they are the engine behind every single discovery. So let's figure out how to use them. To build up this scientific mindset, we're gonna use a pretty cool analogy. We're gonna start from the ground up, with what we'll call the roots. These are the basic, solid skills that anchor all of our scientific thinking. Here's the big picture, the roots in kites idea. The roots are all about our grounded skills, paying close attention, making careful observations, and building on solid facts. The kites, on the other hand, well, there are soaring ideas, all that creative, imaginative thinking that leads to brand new discoveries. You see, you can't have one without the other. Great science needs both strong roots and flying kites. So how do we make our roots stronger? We use something called systematic investigation. And don't worry, it sounds complicated, but it's really just a simple 4-step recipe. First, you ask a super clear question, like, does hotter oil make a puree puff up more? Step 2, and this is so important, you change only one thing at a time. 3, you watch everything that happens really, really carefully. And 4, you write it all down. This process makes sure your answers are actually reliable. And that one thing you change, it has a special name in science, a variable. In our puree experiment, the variables could be the temperature of the oil, or maybe how thick the dough is, or even how big you make the puree. By only changing one of those things at a time, you can be 100% sure that it's the thing that caused the result you saw. Controlling your variables is the absolute key to a fair test.
Okay, so with our roots planted firmly in the ground, it's time to see just how high we can go. This brings us to the kites. All the amazing ideas and incredible discoveries that are only possible when we have a solid way to investigate the world. So what do these kites, these big scientific ideas, actually look like in your syllabus? Let's connect this whole new mindset to some of the key concepts you'll definitely need for your exams. You'll see how every single one is a kite that was built on careful root-level observation. Let's start with a world that's totally invisible, the world of microbes. The idea that there are tiny little organisms we can't see was once a wild kite, a soaring, unbelievable idea. But by using microscopes and systematic investigation, scientists proved they're everywhere. And some are actually helpful, like the ones in our gut, while others, well, they can make us sick. And that leads us straight to another huge idea, the immune system. For thousands of years, nobody knew how our bodies fought off diseases. It was a total mystery. But through careful observation, our roots, we discovered this incredible internal army that finds and destroys invaders to keep us healthy. All this scientific knowledge leads to a really important principle. Prevention is better than cure. Now, that's not just a nice saying your parents tell you, it's a scientific conclusion that came from tons of observations about how diseases spread. Simple things like washing your hands, that's putting this powerful idea into practice. All right, let's switch gears and apply this thinking to physics. What makes things move? The answer is a totally foundational concept, force. It's really just a push or a pull, but once you understand it, you can explain pretty much every motion you see, from kicking a football to a rocket launching into space. Now, have you ever noticed that things just seem to slow down on their own? Scientists observed that and asked why, and they discovered friction. It's the force that pushes back against motion. It's why a rolling ball eventually stops, and it's why you can walk without your feet slipping out from under you. It's everywhere. So what if you take a force and spread it out over an area? Well, then you get pressure. And this one idea helps us explain massive things in nature. For example, it's the differences in air pressure that actually create wind, as air rushes from high pressure spots to low pressure spots. Pretty cool, huh?
Now, over in chemistry, scientific thinking helps us figure out what everything is made of. The most basic building block is an element. It's just a pure substance made of only one kind of atom. Think oxygen, iron, gold. You can't break them down into anything simpler. They're like the universe's ultimate Lego bricks. So what happens when you mix things together? Well, sometimes you get a solution. This is what happens when one substance, like sugar, we call that the solute, dissolves completely into another one, like water, which is the solvent. The result is a perfectly even mixture. You do this every single day. Our whole understanding of light is another kite built on tons of observation. We've learned that light usually travels in perfectly straight lines and does two really important things. It reflects, which is just a fancy word for bouncing off things like a mirror, and it refracts, which means it bends when it passes through stuff, like the lenses in a pair of glasses.
Okay, let's zoom all the way out now for the really big picture. That brings us to the concept of an ecosystem. This idea ties biology, chemistry, and physics all together. It describes this super complex web where all the living things interact with each other and with the non-living parts of their environment. It's a great reminder that in nature, everything is connected. So, we've talked about the right mindset, and we've gone over some of the most important concepts from your syllabus. But now the really important part begins. It's your turn to put all of this into practice and become the scientist. And remember this, your real scientific toolkit isn't just a list of facts you have to memorize. It's this way of thinking. You ground your curiosity in careful observation, those are your roots, and that's what allows your big, brilliant ideas to soar like kites. Trust me, this is the most powerful tool you have for your exams and for just understanding the world. Your kitchen, your backyard, your whole world. It's a giant laboratory just waiting for you to explore it. So as you go about your day, I want to leave you with this thought. What curious why or how question are you going to investigate first?